Good afternoon. $100,000 in a month?
Let's go.
Dude, what happens if you do that 12 months in a row? Marty, you got my first green? Bam. Contemplate that. $100,000, 12 months in a row. What does that look like? $100,000 in 1 month. Does that seem like a unicorn? Does that seem like a fairy tale? Does that seem like, what are you talking about? I was on solar objections last night. I like to go on there and just kind of throw these little bombs. And one guy's like, dude, I can show you how to make $20,000 a month. I'm like, dude, is the solar gold rush over? And nobody told me? Who would like to actually really make $1 million in the next 12 months? Raise your hand. Raise it higher. Higher. Who'd like to have the recipe? Hi, who's got the highest? Who wants the recipe? You right there. Come on up here. Come up here. I got the recipe. Who wants the recipe? You want the recipe? You got the recipe. Come on up here. So this is my book. It's dropping on Amazon today. It's called No Matter What. It's on Amazon for $25.99. I've got them in the back. If anybody buys one today at the show on Amazon, just go show Diane your little Amazon receipt. I'm going to hand you another one and sign it. So you get two for the price of one. I'm going to sign it personally here. I'm just going to hand you a free book. So that's your free book.
Thank you so much.
That's a recipe for a 7-figure income in solar sales. Do me a favor, will you?
Yes.
Put this recipe to work. All right, my friend?
Thank you so much.
Dude, that's it. That's the recipe. That is the recipe to a 7-figure income in sales. I got two more books up here. Anybody want them? Keep paying attention. I got a couple more questions I'm going to ask you. They'll be a little harder than yes, you want to make $1 million a year in sales. So that's the book. It's dropping on Amazon. Super excited. Somebody asked me the other day, dude, how long did it take you to write this book? And I said, well, it took about 5 or 6 years to do something anybody would want to read about, right? So this is No Matter What. And that is really the book companion to what we're really here to talk about today. Caesar and I met in this building. And it was a complete strike of fate. Bradley and I were working on building the MOD Sales Academy and having that be hosted on the VT Lightspeed system. And he said, I got the perfect guy to be your project manager, to be your partner in getting this thing figured out, curated, codified, and onto the system. And that man is Legacy Patino. And he said, it's Legacy. And I thought, oh, he's got a guy from the solar company, Legacy. I thought I was meeting the solar company. I didn't realize I was meeting Mr. Legacy Patino. And he and I collaborated for the next 6 months to take all my YouTube videos, and all this stuff's been viral, man. I haven't planned to be standing on a stage having written a book. That's what are you talking about? Although I did start making that part of my daily mantra a few years ago in my Think and Grow Rich. We're going to talk about in a minute about a 9-figure mindset. I started to codify that in my own brain, reprogram that I would be the author of a best-selling book. But then I had a coach, Coach Michael Burke, come up to me. Coach Michael Burke introduced me to Bradley. We said, guys, this is some people want to know how to make $1 million a year selling solar. Maybe we should, help them and put together a book, put together a system. So this is the book, the MOD Sales Academy, which you all have access to by virtue of the fact that you are the real solar. You have access to that. What that is like you and I spending the next 8 hours together one-on-one in a virtual environment where I'm going to tell you everything that I had to learn that took me years. I started selling solar in 1983. All right, and when in 2015 when this thing started taking off, I just was kind of like, am I special? Well, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I just already knew how to sell solar in 2015. I'm like, well, yeah, I had a bunch of guys teach me how to do that. I know how to do this. And so I started doing it and walking through it. So by virtue of the fact that you are with the real solar, you have access to the MOD Sales Academy. Who here has been online at the MOD Sales Academy? All right, good. So the rest of you will be soon. You're going to learn exactly how to do that. We're going to start out with the mindset that gets you to a place where that is actually going to happen. Move through all the curriculum, making appointments, the solar presentation that lights a customer's ass on fire. And more importantly, after their ass is on fire, and you're the one there with the bucket, the hose, and they need that fire quenched. But there's just one thing. they want to do it on a different day than today. Can you come back tomorrow? Are you going to email me this presentation, right? How many of you had a presentation that ended with, are you going to email this presentation to me, right? That's the way many of them answer. So you're going to learn how to do that by being in the academy. The book talks about it. The academy actually does it. And then every single solitary day, we have a mastermind where we talk about going from 0 to 1 every single day. 0 to 1 is how you create momentum. 0 to 1, if you pick a spot and go from 0 to 1 in this direction, you now have a direction, and you've started to get from 0 to 1, you've built momentum. And so we do that every single solitary day, Monday through Friday, on a live 30-minute call. It's super crisp. If you want access to that, just talk to Legacy, talk to myself, or just go to the MOD Sales Academy. It's part of the course. If you want the live course and live training, so there's 5 days a week of mastermind 30 minutes to get your day start from 0 to 1 in the right direction with massive speed and massive velocity towards going from I ain't talked to nobody about solar to I've at least talked to one person about solar. We're going to do that every single day. And then once a week, we get into the live training. We break down one of the concepts to be successful. That starts on Wednesday at 9 o'clock Pacific. It goes, supposed to go an hour. It usually goes 2. Every single episode of that has been recorded, uploaded. It's on the MOD Sales Academy. It's all there. And then every Wednesday, we meet again and do it live. And what's in those live trainings is what's going on today, what's working, what's not working. What did you hear in the news today that's going to be the thing the customer's going to respond to at the door? We're going to walk through what's going on today in the news. We got a little bit of time to cover that, so we're going to cover that. So anyway, if you buy the book today, I'm going to hand you a free one back there. You get 2 for the price, but I'm going to sign that one. We'll send that one home for you. Go on Amazon.com. It's all there. You can do that stuff. So. All right, and that's what we're talking about is a recipe for a 7-figure income in sales. So I had a breakthrough, guys. I'd been in sales for a lot of years, a little bit of formatting issue converting the presentation, but thank you so much to Marty. Everybody, can we get a big, gigantic round of applause for Marty in the back? Not because he just took all my stress to get my presentation, which came late, so that it was mostly fixed, right? But because he was the one that helped me in the green screen upstairs to record the MOD Sales Academy. He was there with me doing the teleprompter. Cool stuff. This building has magic going on, and that he's a big part of the magic. So thank you, Marty. But what happened for me in 2016 is that I had a breakthrough. I'd started selling solar in 2015. I had for 25 years, I started selling solar in 1983. I found this group of tin men who'd been selling aluminum siding, and they knew how to knock on a door, get a customer to say, well, yeah, you can come back tonight. Anybody here seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross? Closers, coffees for closers, put down that coffee. Do you remember what first prize was? Who knows what first prize was if you were the top salesman that week? What was first prize? Cadillac. Come get a book. Boom! Come back and see me afterward. I'll be in the back signing books. Come back, and I will sign that book. Brand new Eldorado. Brand new Eldorado. Who wants an Eldorado Cadillac? Brand new Eldorado Cadillac. Who wants a brand new Eldorado? They don't make Eldorado Cadillacs anymore. But man, there was a time I wanted a brand. When I first hit my big time, first couple of good year in sales, that's what I went. I went out and got myself, because of that movie, I went out and got a brand new Eldorado Cadillac. And I got recruited from one company to another, and I was saying no until they said, well, we're going to get you a brand new Cadillac. I said, I work for you now. That was my idea of success in sales, right? So in that movie, Alec Baldwin is standing at the front of the room, and he's saying, we're going to have a sales contest. First prize, brand new Cadillac. Second prize, set of steak knives. Does anybody know why that's funny? Cutco steak knives. That is kind of funny. The Cutco guy does not think this is funny because I make him listen to this story every year at D2D-Con. Every year I make him listen to this story. And so the reason it's funny is because I was in that room selling solar, only they were selling real estate in the movie, but I was in that exact same room in 1982 when that movie came out, and I was selling solar, and we would go to the door. The tin men knew you talk to the wife in the middle of the afternoon. Could you come back later when the husband comes home? And she's, oh man, he's not going to want to see a salesman. And that's what people are saying when you're at the door, when they're saying, oh, I got to think about it. I'm going to check out your website. What they're saying is, man, my husband's going to be pissed if I say yes to having some shark salesman come back here later this afternoon, later this evening. He's going to come home. He's going to get a cocktail going. He's going to ask me for what's for dinner. And I'm going to say, honey, dinner's going to be a little late. I got a salesman coming over to talk about solar. Does that sound good? Let me tell you what, guys, that don't sound good, right? And that's why they're hesitating to say yes at the door, or they're calling to cancel the appointment because they told her, I set an appointment with a solar guy tomorrow afternoon and he's going to come. Does that sound good? They're going, no, that doesn't sound good. So what the aluminum siding salesman would do, and then he taught me to do it in the solar business, is he had a trunk full of these little boxes, and in the little boxes were sets of steak knives. And he would say to the homemaker, because in that day it was usually a homemaker at home during the day, that was usually the lady of the house, and he would say, by the way, just for having me over, you're going to get a brand new set of steak knives. And she would go, oh man, I really want a brand new set of steak knives. Now, in the trunk of my car, once you got them out of the car to open up, they didn't look all that, they weren't that big of a deal. But she wanted a new set of steak knives to entertain company with, and she would say yes to the appointment. That was going on in that title. And that's how I do that today. Those aluminum siding salesmen taught me to get to the door, ask one of the spouses, we're going to get you a whole bunch of really good information that you're going to love. Wouldn't it be great to have that information? Yes, it would. And by the way, we're going to buy you dinner. Just for having us over. The consultant's going to come back if you're the setter or yourself. I'm going to come back. I'm going to have a gift card. And I just need to know the answer to one question. Does your wife like Olive Garden or Cheesecake Factory better? Oh, man. Does she like the Cheesecake Factory? Glass of wine, little dinner, piece of cheesecake. Yeah. And then you go, does that sound good? And you know what? That sounds good, right? And when she tells that guy, yeah, the salesman coming, by the way, he's buying us dinner. We get to go to Cheesecake Factory on Friday. That's where we're going for dinner tonight. Aren't we? She's not asking him if it sounds good. She's telling him, we're going to the Cheesecake Factory on Friday. You're going to sit your ass down and listen to a solar presentation. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That's different than does that sound good? But the breakthrough in 2016 that I found, and the ability, I came back into the solar industry after learning how to do this stuff in 1983, discovered solar, broke the golden handcuffs, start selling solar at a real high rate. Well, I got to prove to my wife at home, honey, I got a great idea. I'm going to walk away from this $125,000 salary. That's what I get for the indentured servitude work that I do in this corporate America job, and they chain me to this desk for 8 hours a day. I'm now a regional vice president. Anyone ever heard of the Peter Principle in business? The Peter Principle means you get, if you're a talented person and you're impressive, you will get promoted in corporate America. In fact, you'll get promoted again and again and again until you reach the level of your incompetence. Like you don't know how to do the job they just promoted you to do. That happened to me. I got promoted out of being VP of sales and into being the regional vice president for this IT and physical security company. I know the first damn thing about running a bunch of technicians and how many postage stamps and doing forecasts and budgets. I didn't know anything about that. All of a sudden, that was my job. And I hated my job. I'm seeing these solar systems fly up on the roof. I'm like, dude, I've been taught how to sell these things. It looks like they're moving like hotcakes. Maybe I should go figure this out. I go meet my partners. I go with my partner, Troy. We knock on some doors. On the third door, I'm the one who's talking. Then we go into the house. On the second house, I'm the one who's talking. I already know how to sell these things. I'm like, I know how to do this. And immediately I sell a solar system on my first day by myself. I sell another one that night. I sell another one the next day. I sell another one the next day. I sell another one the next day. And I'm like, honey, is it okay? I haven't quit my job yet. I'm like, honey, I've made more money in the last 6 days than we're scheduled to make at my corporate America job in the next 6 months. You think we could take a little risk, take a little flyer? Can we bet on me for a change? I left that job. I found my gift in 1983. I knew I could do straight commission. I knew I could be the boss. I knew I could bring home the bacon. And I had a young wife at home, and she was scared to death because some weeks I'd make $200 and some weeks I'd make $2,000, and she could not handle that stress. And she was pregnant with a baby, and when someone said, I'll give you $40,000 a year to show up to this assigned workstation cubicle every single day, and you try and sell some shit after you do that every day. Does that sound good? And I thought about my wife at home, and I thought, that don't sound very good, but I'll take the job. I spent the next 25 years with a salary, chained to a desk, chained to a corporate America, bullshit corporate conference calls and all that stuff. And at the end of 25 years, I'd managed to get myself to about $250,000 a year. You know what $250,000 a year is? That's golden handcuffs. How the F are you going to quit a quarter? Honey, I'm coming home to tell you, I'm going to quit my $250,000 a year job because I'm going to go knocking on doors. I'm going to go sling solar. Does that sound good? Guys, that don't sound very good. So I didn't quit. I didn't even begin to try and tell her that. I joined a little crew, started knocking on doors, started selling solar. Luckily, I already knew how to do it. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I said, how's this guy? We're selling 1 or 2 of these a month. How did you sell 6 in 6 days? What the F? It's like, I just know how to do this. These guys had shown me how you knock on a door, offer the wife something free. She says yes to the appointment. You do a presentation that lights their ass on fire. And oh, by the way, they're going to tell you, can you come back on another day? Here, just say this. It'll work almost every single time. I'm like, I know how to do this. However, I discovered one of the fallbacks. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the fall downs in solar is that we, in terms of getting paid, all get paid way, way, way too much money per deal. And I don't know why we do. I'm just glad we do. Every day I walk around pinching myself and I say, I sell one of these and I get $5,000. Like, do these guys know the math? I literally, for the first 3 months that I was working with this little 3 guys, and I'm like, are these guys going to wake up one day and realize there's no way in the world they could pay me 1/3 of the goddamn revenue? That's not a commission plan. That sounds like a disaster movie. Do you know what salespeople get paid anywhere if they don't have a salary? They work to get a $100,000 deal sold. They're lucky to get a 25% gross margin. Does anyone know what gross margin means? Yeah, that means if you had a $100,000 thing, you would sell it for $125,000. You would write a check for $100, and the only profit was the other $25. How much does the sales guy get of that? Ain't $25,000, I'll tell you that. It ain't $10,000, it ain't $5,000. It's 10% of the gross profit. That's a standard corporate, whatever, contractor. If you sell plumbing, you're going to get 10% of the gross profit. You ain't getting 10, 20, 30% of the revenue. That's not a thing. And so I'm still pinching myself every day. How could I sell how can I sell a this many watt thing and get a check for $5,000, $7,000, whatever the thing, just to make any sense? I'm literally thinking these guys are screwing the deal up. So I rush out and I sell a bunch of these things. Honey, I think I just made as much money in 6 days as I would make in 6 months. Are you okay with me going in and quitting? I'm going to drive in tomorrow and hand the keys to this company car back to the CEO of the company, and he's going to say, what are you doing? I'm going to say, I'm going to go knocking on doors. I'm going to go be a peddler. Like, I didn't want to tell anybody. For the first year and a half, I had this huge reputation. I was a top sales guy in my world there, which was communications and IT data communications and all that. I was out building the internet. That was my last gig, help build the internet, right? First I built the computers, then they sell the computers, sell the internet, sell the cloud, and then sell the security for the cloud, and then out, right? But I'm saying I didn't even, for the first year and a half, I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't update my LinkedIn account till about a year ago. I did not want the guys I used to hang around with and sell with and boss of and party with to know that I was out knocking on doors. They go, man, O'Donnell fell on hard times. Do you hear he's out knocking on doors? He's a door-to-door salesman. I tried calling a couple of the guys after doing this going, dude, man, I think I'm going to make like $500,000. Like, if I'm not careful, I might make $100,000. Like, this is going to happen. I need someone to take me out to play a lot of golf, or I'm going to stumble into $1 million here. Dude, what's the gig? What about solar? Wave of the future. Oh my God, dude, we're on our way. We're going to go. By the way, how do you get your leads? I knock on doors. Click. I've yet to hear from those guys. They see me on Instagram. They know I'm making a 7-figure income. Ain't one of those guys interested in getting out of their $250,000 gig to make $1 million if they have to knock on doors. So I'm knocking on doors, and it's going pretty well. And then what happens, I bring home, the first couple of months, I'm going to the bank, and I'm less cashing. I'm depositing $1,000 and less cashing the rest of it because I don't want my wife to know how much money I'm making. Apparently, my wife can spend as much as I possibly bring home. That's what I learned after 25 years of making a 6-figure income. It doesn't matter. The government's going to take 1/3. We needed another 1/3 to do whatever, and then the other 1/3 just disappears. So I'm hiding the money from selling solar, so she doesn't know how much money. And I got like shoe boxes full of cash, and somebody's like, that's a bad idea. Shoe boxes, that's just you gotta have a fire, right? So I gotta tell her what's going on. But now something else happened. I somehow realized after I paid off, we had about $30,000 in credit card debt. Anyone know what success looks like when you're hitting 50 years old with a $250,000 job? It means you have a big mortgage. It means you got a big boat payment. You got a big car payment, you got a big tuition payment for 2-3 kids in college, and you got about $30,000 in credit card debt. That is the meaning of success in this American grind. That's not the American dream, that's the American grind. And that's successful. Dude, I had a 6-figure income for 25 years, and when I started in sales, 6-figure income actually meant like a lot of money. Now cops make 100 grand, right? 130 grand. I fill out these apps all the time, and the guy's a cop, and like, okay, what's your income? With overtime, 130. I'm like, 6-figure income isn't necessarily what we used to think it meant back in that time. But then I got it in my head, holy cow, if I paid off my mortgage, which I did, I was bringing home this money, I didn't know what to do with it, I was putting it in shoe boxes. And I told my wife about it, she said, well, I gotta do stuff. What should we do? I know we paid off our house. Well, now what should we do? Well, first we paid off the credit cards. Paid off the credit cards. I haven't had a zero balance in a credit card in 25 years, and now all of a sudden I have zero balance. What else are we gonna do? I don't know, let's give it to the mortgage company. We paid off the mortgage company. Well, why don't we pay off the cars? So I'm into this thing about a year, and I have no debt. I have a paid off house. I have no credit card. I have almost no expenses, and I don't know what to do with the money. And so I thought, that was exciting. I should make twice as much, right? Isn't that what happens when you have no bills and no mortgage and no, you know what you end up with? There's no reason to get up in the morning. If I looked at my calendar on Sunday night and I didn't have an appointment till Wednesday, I kind of figured I had a couple days off. Honey, you want to go to Vegas? You want to go do this? You want to go do that? I have an appointment till Wednesday. What is that? Is that hating money? It's a principle. We're all going to rise and fall to the level of our desperate need. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I had found that desperate need to prove that I could get away from the golden handcakes. I'm selling 100 to 200 kilowatts in a month. I pay off everything in sight. Now I still got tons of cash. I don't know what to do with it, so I start working less. And that's what you will find in solar. That will become one of your biggest problems. Isn't that a good problem to have? It'll become one of your biggest problems is that your mortgage is not nipping at your heels, and that's what gets you up out of bed. That and that boss, you know, when you had that other gig and you had that assigned workstation and you were 10 minutes late and he was tapping his toe and he's like, O'Donnell, we're going to write you up tomorrow. Like that's what gets most people to work the next day. And so in 2016, I found myself getting confronted. I had been made a partner in the company. I was selling 100 to 200. My partners were like, dude, what's up? Like, we thought you were like this big solar sales, you know, phenom. And all of a sudden you're posting, instead of 150, you're posting 40 kilowatts a month. Why are you posting 40 kilowatts? And I had great excuses, market saturation, the doors have just gotten tough. I mean, you want to hear a great excuse, you come to the right place, right? I'm your man. Want a great excuse? You know what the truth was? 40 kilowatts a month was still more money than I needed. 40 kilowatts a month. Now I didn't have any bills. Now I didn't even need to make 40 kilowatts. I was on my way to zero. And I got confronted by my partner, like, what's the deal? Do you hate money? What's going on? All these excuses. And the answer was, I had found my level of where my desperate needs were. And then something happened. We found out that the tax credits were ending in 2016. Did you guys know that the tax credits were going to zero in 2016? They only didn't because of a midnight signing in the middle of the night when Obama was on his way out of office. And he extended the tax credits in 2016 for an additional 3 years at the 30% rate. And then it was going to go to 22, and then, 26, 22, and out. He extended that for an additional 5 years, 3 years at 30, and then 2 years at 20, 1 year at 26, 1 year at 22, and then zero. It was supposed to be zero under Obama's schedule last January 1st. We were supposed to be selling solar systems with zero tax credit last January. And instead of that happening, the new COVID relief bill that came in January upped it again and extended the 26 for another 2 years. This is the second and very last year. Listen to that word track, write it down. This is the last year of the 26% tax credit that the federal government, write that down, say it out loud, and you don't need to say the next sentence that it's going down to 22%. Say things that are true. What is true? This is the last year of the 26% tax credit. And we found out in 2016 the tax credits were ending. We started selling like the world was ending. We also found out that in the state I'm in, Arizona, net metering was ending. It ended in 2017. And I woke up and found out that I thought, and was true, that I found this killer gig, making tons of money, and now solar's over. It's the end of it. Absolute stone cold end of it. It's over. We started to realize this was perishable. It didn't have anything to do with how much money I needed. It's how much money do I need for the rest of my life? Dude, in the next year, I could make enough money so I would have a different amount of money for the rest of my life. And that's how I started selling solar. And I realized if I could be in 2 or 3 presentations a day, or 2 or 3 presentations a week, and making 10 grand a week, why in the F could I couldn't be in 2 or 3 presentations a day and making $10,000 a week? Is anybody here opposed to opening up a paycheck and seeing $50,000 in it for a week? You want the recipe?
Yes, sir.
Be in 2 or 3 presentations a day and sell almost all of them. You're going to make 50 grand a week. That's more than $1 million a year. And guys, that's not smoking crack there. You're not high thinking that's possible. You could just decide to do it, reverse engineer what it takes, and then just go do it. And it would be hard and it would be a lot of work, and you'd be like at the end of 6 months, you'd be like, and at the end of 6 months, I come crashing at the end of it. 5 contracts in my hand. You want to hear about urgency? I hear this tax credit thing, and the deadline is June 30th. That's the end of it. It was July 1st was the first day of the no more net metering, whatever. That was the deadline. I believed it. You know who believed there was a deadline? Me. I believed there was who believed it was the end of the world? Do you think the customer was sitting there eating dinner, contemplating the end of the solar world? The end of the world for me to make $1 million a year selling? They weren't caring about that. I showed up on their door going, do you know what's going on? Oh my God, have you guys heard? This is it. It's the end of the world. If you're not solar in the next couple days, you're effed. Right? And then I start going back to all my people I've sold solar to, and I go, dude, who's your friends? Who's your mom? Does your mom have solar? Well, you're not talking to your mom? What's going on? Do you not like her? And then I'm sure these referrals are coming in. And on the last day, June 30th, I come into the office falling down at 11:30 at night because the deadline's at midnight. And when people are calling me going, dude, can I get in on this thing? And I'm like, dude, you're going to have to see me at 10 o'clock, and it's going to have to be quick because the deadline's midnight. Dude, can I see you tomorrow? It's the last day. I'm going to have to see you at 6 in the morning before my already scheduled 8. 6, 8, noon, 2, blah, 10:30 at night, 11:30 at night. I got 5 contracts. And I come crashing through the gate, and Val looks at me like I'm a crazy man who sells 5 solar deals in a day. It was the last day. Solar was over. Where was that urgency? It was in my mind. And he says, O'Donnell, I got good news and I got bad news. The good news is they extended the deadline for 2 months. The bad news is those tickets you have for Italy tomorrow for a month with your wife, planning to blow 50 grand of that 500, looks like that's going to cost you more like $250,000 to go to Italy. That's the bad news, because you ain't going to be selling solar for the next 30 days. I didn't go to Italy. I still have those tickets. I still haven't been to Italy. Why? Because it's not 1 second less urgent now than it was then. In fact, it's way more urgent now than it was then, because now what I'm about to tell the customer is 10x more urgent for them. When I was knocking on their door, there wasn't any inflation. When I was knocking on the door, the price of stuff wasn't going up. They weren't actually effed. I was effed if they didn't go solar. I just made it their problem. Now they're actually effed if they don't go solar. It's 10x more urgent right now than it was then. But in 2016, I woke up and I got it. I found this gear and I brushed myself off. And I didn't think I thought I could only move like that because I was in a sprint. And I didn't realize that it was a marathon. And I got up the day after and I realized, no, this is a marathon. I can just get up and do the same thing I've been doing. Why can't I do this every day? In fact, do I hate money? What's my issue? No, I don't hate money. So I go for the next 2 months. And at the end of that 2 months, I don't even have any idea how much solar I've sold. I show up at the D2D Con. I don't even think I sold much solar in October, November. Why? The deadline, the urgency, all that was over. I didn't even think there was going to be solar. Turns out the net metering turned into cash metering. Turned out Obama extended the tax credits, and it really did become a marathon. And so, but when I showed up at D2D Con that January, and it was the first year, Sam Tiger says, did anybody sell 1 million watts of solar? I'm like, I did. He goes, we got a plaque for people that sold over $1 million. Like, dude, I like plaques. I've been to corporate America. I get into plaques for selling stuff. I like plaques. And I go up and Sam's like, talk to her, tell her what you sold. And what'd you sell? Like, so 2.56 million. Like, Val, what did it add up to? Run the CR, so 2.56, you sold 2. And I say that to Sam, I sold 2.56. He goes, no, dude, not the whole freaking company, you idiot. Not the whole damn company. How much did you sell? I'm like, Val, was that the whole company? He goes, no, man, Troy sold about 2.5 as well. You both sold about 2.5 million, and we sold, the company did like 7 megawatts. So you sold 2.5. I go, Sam, I sold 2.5. He goes, dude, that's not even a freaking thing. That's just freaking weird. Nobody sells that. Like a megawatt in solar, you're like a made dude, baller, son of a bitch. Like 2.5, shut up. I go, dude, I don't know, man. That was just the thing, 2.56. He goes, so I come up to the thing that night when he's doing, he goes, we don't have a plaque for 2, so we're just going to give you 2 of these. We'll just, here you go. You have that one and get off the stage. And then I get off the stage, and now there's a bunch of people wanting to talk to me. How did you do this? How did you? I don't know. I was a deadline thing. I don't know what to tell you. We were trying to beat, I don't know, just the whole thing. So I come out of that thing and I think, what am I going to do? I'm like, and you never know what's going to motivate somebody, right? Like I had so much money, I didn't even know what to do with it. I didn't even have ambition for what I was going to do with it. But you know what? Fuck, I liked getting 2 of those plaques. You know what? And I got it in my head that I wanted to do that again. I said, well, how am I going to do that? And I said, man, it was this deadline thing. Where else is there a deadline? There's a deadline in Tucson. My wife and I just bought this beautiful home on a ½ acre, this home we already want. My brother-in-law sold it to us. He goes, I'll have the mortgage guy call. I go, dude, I think I'm just going to write a check. And my brother's like, what do you mean write a check? This thing's like $600K. Yeah, Dad, Marshall and I talked about it. We're just going to write you a check. And he says, all right, well, we'll get the house in Gilbert up for sale real quick then. We'll hustle over there. We got to get that thing sold if you're going to write a check. I said, Rob, we kind of talked about it. We think we're just going to rent that place out. We just paid off the mortgage, and that $2,000 a month would just be ours free and clear. We're going to rent it out. He's going, what the F are you talking about? You're going to keep that one and it's paid off? And then he's like, screw real estate. I'm going to start selling solar. And that guy has sold a lot of solar as a referral, as a real estate. He makes a lot of money selling real estate. And then we get this house, and then I figure out, where's the deadline in Tucson? Honey, we just bought this, $600,000 home, our dream house. But we're not moving in. We're going to move to Tucson and live in the Red Roof Inn this year. Why? Because they got a deadline. We're moving to Tucson. We're living in the Red Roof Inn. I was not kidding. We moved into the Red Roof Inn like with the crack people and it was like, seriously, it wasn't that pretty. Luckily, I sold a solar system to a guy that had an Airbnb and it needed an MPU. David was talking about MPUs. What did he say they cost? $2,500. This was an Airbnb. How much do you rent it out for a month long term? He goes, $2,500. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll trade you this MPU, which was priced into the deal, by the way. I'll trade you this MPU for a month's rent at this Airbnb. He said, deal. We shook hands on it. I got that place for free. I ended up staying in it about 8 months. And at the end of that 8 months, the dust cleared. And I show up at Sam Tower. He goes, all right, you had your big shot year. Now what? What'd you do this year? I said, well, Val, what did it add up to? $2.86 million, 2.86 million watts of solar. And Sam Tiger's like, what in the holy F is going on in this Arizona thing? Right? So now I'm back, but now I'm at a deadlines. I don't know what to do. And that's when I started to try and really think, if I really want to repeat this and turn this into a recipe, now I'll tell you what, and I recruit a lot of people. How much money do you want to make? I lead people. What's your goals? Goals are cheap, guys. I don't even want to listen to goals, right? Oh, I'm going to make, whatever that, $1 million. I'm going to make, I'm going to have a Lambo, whatever the thing. I do not care about your goals because they may or may not happen, and I really hope they do. But you know what I care about? I want to know what your floor is. I want to know. I don't want you to send me your resume. I want you to send me your last 3 years W-2s and 1099s. You show me a guy who's made $40K a year for the last 3 years, I'll show you a guy who's going to make $40K next year, unless he wakes up and finds himself in this meeting. If he finds himself in this meeting, maybe that's going to change. But if he just keeps going, up, he's going to make $40K a year. You show me a guy who has to make $250K or he's screwed, I'll show you guys going to make $250K. That's where I was. I was screwed if I didn't make $250,000 a year, like kids in college, boat, house, all that kind of stuff, right? But now I'm making a 7-figure income and I don't need it. And I start to pray. dude, can you like show me how to figure this thing out? I go to door con and I hear a guy talking about the book Mini Habits. And it was the guy who's the CEO of Traeger. And he said, man, I found that spot in my life and I found the book Mini Habits and I started doing 1 push-up a day. I needed to get into better shape. I needed to lose weight. And I found myself saying, you know what? What I really need to do is do 1 push-up. He came up with the recipe, the secret for creating a habit. All of the things that we need to do to be successful, if we can convert them to habits, like create things that we can now not do, like brushing your teeth. Anybody ever not brush their teeth in 2 or 3 days? That's a bad experience. Like, you will not need someone else to tell you, dude, you should brush your teeth, right? You want to brush your teeth every day. Why? Because it's a habit. Why did we create a habit out of brushing our teeth? Did you brush your teeth every day, 3 times a day when your mom said to? I didn't. First time to the dentist, I had 6 cavities. I was crying all afternoon as they drilled holes in my head. I made a habit out of brushing my teeth after that. What creates habits is a desire for not hitting bad consequences. And so I created this floor of 2 of these Golden Door Awards every year. And so that's what this book is about. That's what this course is about. That's what joining the Real Solar and going through this academy and learning how to do this is. This is just a repeatable recipe. How do we do it? Guys, I'm really proud of winning this award 5 years in a row. I'm really proud of selling 12 million watts of solar in the last 5 or 6 years. What I'm really proud, though, is last quarter, leading an entire sales force of stud sales guys, and I'm selling 900 kilowatts in a quarter. That's what I'm proud of. That's where the money comes from. Everybody thinks they're going to get into solar, become a boss, become a manager. They're going to recruit, and they're going to live on overrides. You want to know what? Overrides suck. Overrides don't pay the bills. Why? Because they all get up and leave one day for a nickel. They all don't work. Who knows what the hell the deal is? The only one you can be sure is going to work is you. And guys, that's enough, because if you do this at that level of speed, this job pays, $1 million, $2 million bucks a year. But what I am really proud of is this. There's 6 and there's another one missing. 7 guys that came onto my team, took this training, went out with me every day, and every single one of them won a Golden Door Award. That was 25% of the people on stage. There were 24, 25 people up there, and 7 of them were up there because we had decided we could teach people how to do this, hold them accountable, have an 8 o'clock meeting every day, get going from 0 to 1 every day, stop being a victim of inertia. Does anybody know what inertia is? It's an object not in motion, right? So an object, it's Newton's first law. An object at rest tends to stay at rest unless acted upon by an external force. And an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted on by an external force. If we can create that momentum every single day and travel that distance from 0 to 1, we can do it. And there's a lot to it. But I created that recipe, started putting in, this is what I'm proud of. I'm proud of having other people come on, try this, and create. Every one of those guys made at least $750,000. Several of them made over $1 million. I'm going to trip. So guys, here's the secret. I just told you the problem, and the problem is we're all going to rise to the level of our desperation. We're all going to make sure that we've done. You show me a guy with 3 kids, and I'll show you a guy who's going to figure out a way to make the money that he needs to keep them from being kicked out of the house this month. And you know what? Guys and women get into bad places where they don't do that, and then they fall further and further down. But for the most part, every single person you know is successful, very successful. The problem is they're successful at a really bad goal, and that's don't get thrown out of the house. Make enough money to pay the bills, maybe put a couple 3% into a 401k so you're not eating dog food in your retirement, and then hopefully scrape together $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to go on a vacation. That's not the American dream, that's the American grind. That's what we're all in the process of doing. By the way, that's what the people are doing. You're knocking on their doors. They're trying to win their ball game, and that's their ball game. Our proposition, our strategy affects that ball game in a major way. Major way. But the answer to the problem is that we need to stop being desperate to pay our bills and start becoming desperate at a different level. We need to, instead of having a floor that pays our bills, we need to have a floor that creates financial security, financial independence, and finally, generational wealth. And when I woke up that day and I said, you know, if I can do this, if I can be in 2 or 3 of these a week, why can't I be in 2 or 3 of these a day? And what would stop me from doing that 6 or 7 days a week? Is the answer that I don't love money? No, I kind of like money, but I don't love money all that much. What I love is what I'm trying to work for. And then now, instead of working for not having calamity happen, now I'm working for this 9-figure exit in solar. And every single day I review my mantra, which is a think and grow rich mantra. If you define and start to see what does financial security actually mean? Put a number down. I've had a number written down that I've said out loud with my wife every single week. We will have this income. It's over $1 million. We will have this net worth. It's a multi-million-dollar net worth in 3 years. We will have this net worth in 10 years. And that was 10 years ago. Today at 2022, I had that number was over 10 million to have an 8-figure net worth. And I'm about a week away from July 1st of 2022, and I have an 8-figure net worth, an over $10 million net worth. And that was never even a thought in my mind. I had this vague idea that I'd just like to be rich someday, but I didn't have a specific thought. I want to have a $10 million net worth so that I can own a business and have financial security and create generational wealth. But today that's true. So what is my mantra that I'm doing do I have a 9-figure balance sheet now? No. I have a 9-figure mindset. I am marching towards a 9-figure net worth, and I will have a 9-figure net worth when I leave the solar industry in 5 to 7 years. That's going to happen. That comes from Think and Grow Rich. All right, that comes from if you see it and you conceive it and believe it, then you will achieve it. Your brain is capable of doing this. But if you don't reprogram your brain, that's not happening. And so I created this system of no matter what happens that I did every single day. And it started out with brushing my teeth. I already brushed my teeth, but I usually brush my teeth after hitting the snooze button 3, 4, 9 times. Anyone know how many times you can hit snooze on an iPhone before it will just give up on you? I know this no matter what call. It's at 8 o'clock. It's part of this no matter what. Part of the MOD Sales Academy. It's something you guys have access to. It can be the foundation of making this change. Why 9 figures? Does anybody here want to be a billionaire? I would suggest you might want to reconsider that. Being a billionaire is a pain in the ass. Right? You got press and this and that. You'll spend half of the rest of your life trying to figure out how to responsibly give that money away. Right? Bill Gates is spending the rest of his life trying to figure out how to give away these billions of dollars. Right? Warren Buffett's a smart guy. He just outsourced it all and said, Bill, you figure it out. I'm going to enjoy my life. You can't do anything more with $1 billion except have more responsibility that you can't do with $100 or $200 million. At $100 or $200 million, you can have homes on as many coasts as you want and have helicopters and jets to get you in between while living on the passive income. $200 million will create $20 million in passive income. There isn't anything you can't do when you get to just light $20 million on fire. Especially when the homes that you buy on all these coasts don't invade the capital. Those are assets, right? You buy a $2 million home in Santa Barbara and a $5 million, those are part of the $200 million. You're not spending that money. That's going to go up over time. All you need to do is pay the light bill. Oh, wait, I bought solar. And so, and here's the real best part about why you don't want to be a billionaire. And you do want to be a 100, 200 millionaire. And that's because we know how to become a 100, 200 millionaire. We have the recipe for that. That's not some unicorn stuff. Every single day, somebody sells a company that they started 5 years ago for $100-something billion. Like, you can do that. That's doable. How do you do it? You need to be able to start a business. How are you going to be able to start a business? You're going to need the capital so that you can work for yourself, like you're doing today. You're going to need to make a few $1 million in solar over the next few years. And then when the next thing comes along, because you guys are all young enough for the next thing, right? There's like so many problems that the world needs to solve. And you're going to be around to come up with some of those solutions or see them and say, man, I know how to sell the crap out of this. You should have seen me selling solar. I can sell the hell out of this. We're going to start a company and sell the hell out of this thing online, do whatever. And then we'll sell it to somebody for a few $100 million. That's just doable. Like, you can make that happen. I have no idea how to become a billionaire. You got to be born like some, with some sort of bizarre genius IQ and at the right time, and then like win 50 coin tosses in a row. Get super lucky to be a billionaire. At least that's what Elon Musk says. All right, so now what we're talking about is selling solar. And guys, it is imperative that the person you're talking to act now. Why? Because if they don't act now, they are going to miss the deadline. When is the deadline to get a 26% tax credit? Oh wait, is that the deadline? Can I call you on December 31st and get that tax credit? No, I can't, can I? What are you going to tell me if you tell the truth? And I call you on December 31st, say I need solar. It's too late. You're not going to get a 26%. You're going to get the much lower tax credit that's coming starting next January 1st because your system needs to be installed and operational. If it needs to be installed and operational, you better start before December 31st. Guys, does anybody ask you, come on, tell me what's the downside of solar? Come on, what's the catch, dude? Other than it's going to not sound good to my husband that I said yes to an appointment and there's a solar sales guy coming tonight. Other than that, why are people not saying yes to looking at a solar presentation? Lots of misinformation, leading them to think things that aren't true. It's amazing how many things people know about solar. You go, dude, that's not even a thing. I don't even know where you got that. But here's the kicker. No one believes us. They think this is too good to be true. It sounds too good to be true. Guys, I thought it was too good to be true. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. I didn't call a single one of them until I'd been selling solar for a year and a half, because I was afraid that once that net metering deadline had come and gone, they were all going to go, dude, you sold solar to 1,000, to hundreds of strangers, and you didn't come and tell us about this thing, and now we're like waylaid because we don't have solar. Why didn't you come tell us? And the reason I didn't come tell them is because I thought it was too good to be true. I really did. And so they don't believe us about that, but this is going to be true. The deadline is not December 31st. The deadline is probably today. So when they ask me what sucks about solar, there's 2 parts. I've lost my train there. So what's the thing that sucks about solar? I love telling people this. Man, you want to know the catch? I'll give you the catch. You ready? Here's the worst part about solar. Man, does it perform crappy at night. I mean, we're talking 0. This thing sucks. In the middle, it's doing nothing. You got a $50,000 thing and it is just asleep all damn night, which is why you need to be tied to the grid. Let me talk to you about that. But here's the next thing that sucks about solar. Dude, it takes forever. David's always taken all this criticism for how long it takes to get solar. I love how long it takes to get solar in. At the end of a solar presentation, they all want to wait. Dude, what do you mean wait? It's going to take forever. It's going to take weeks and weeks and maybe months and months to get a solar system in. Dude, we may not make it. December 31st, Jesus, we're already in the second half of we got to go. This thing, let me show you this timeline for getting solar. We may not make it. Dude, I'll take care of you. We get going today, I got you. This is going to happen. I will camp out on this thing night and day and make sure this thing gets in less. Lots of solar systems get installed in more than 6 months. Lots. Dude, I got you. I will make sure this thing gets installed. If I'm the one who has to put it in, it will get installed before that deadline. Net metering going away across the country. California is dealing with net metering being questioned. All the net metering rules are changing in Texas. Thank God for Governor DeSantis. I'm not going to talk politics in here, but we may end up talking about some political issues. They were ending net metering in Florida, and Governor DeSantis vetoed the bill. It was a Democrat bill and a Democrat cause for a bunch of tree-hugging, environmental, pro-solar people, and some big, bad Republican guy said, we got a lot of green jobs in this state. Green jobs are on the rise. Green jobs are the people paying the taxes. Guys, that company, Little Mary Band of Men, that I started that solar company, Sun Solar Solutions, in Peoria, Arizona in 2015, it's the largest private employer in the city of Peoria. Dude, I can't even imagine that. That's like, what? I couldn't believe it when we had to move into another building and there was actually a bathroom with a urinal. Wasn't that little tiny office thing where you got like one bathroom and, we got like a bathroom with stalls in here. I'm like, dude, we own this company. We got like a bathroom with urinals and stalls. Like, this is legit. All right, we're the largest. So Governor DeSantis is like, dude, he hit the veto button. So that killed the idea. But the idea that the conditions that make solar so awesome now are going to be there forever is just wrong. These things are changing. Not only that, the grid. Grid restrictions are coming up now. You can only, in the state of Arizona, you can only get 15% of the homes off of a substation tied to the grid. There's a limit. Oh, your house is 15.01? You don't get to go solar. Dude, that lights people's hair on fire when you tell them you're going to get, and how many are in the neighborhood now? I don't know, they won't tell us. They won't tell us. We got to get your reservation in, but if we do the paperwork now, I can get your reservation number, and then we'll know in a day or two whether or not you're going to get in or get left out. Guys, if you want to know what sells solar, the biggest thing in the world that sells solar is these 4 initials, FOMO, FOMO. That's what motivates people. It's not, oh, I'm going to be environmental. Oh, I'm going to save $50. Oh, no. It's like, dude, if you don't do it now, you're not going to get to do this ever. And that's what works. I'm going to push this button, and I'm going to hope that Marty is the magician that I believe he is. Who is going to pay for all this? You want to know why we don't smoke anymore? Why no one's really smoking cigarettes? The government decided in the 60s that we should quit smoking. And they put the incentive program on the label. And here was the incentive program. If you quit smoking now, you may not die a horrible death in the next 10 or 20 years. You may live 10 or 20 years longer and won't spend the last few years sucking on an oxygen tube. All right, and I want to tell you, that sounds funny. My mom and dad both quit smoking in the 90s. My dad didn't stay quit, my mom did. We lost my dad in 2003 to lung cancer after 2 or 3 years of COPD, emphysema, sucking on an oxygen bottle, and then boom, lung cancer dead. My mom, we just lost her to COVID in February after another 20 years of seeing dozens more grandchildren's come, 20 more Christmases come. Why? Because she took the incentive plan. The incentive plan was quit smoking today and you may live 20 years longer and not have a miserable hell on earth life. And you know how many that incentive plan came out, put on every single pack of cigarettes in the 60s? How many people quit smoking with that? Anybody seen the movie, the TV show Mad Men, where they're writing the ads and trying to figure out where to put that on the package of cigarettes? And they're smoking with 2 hands in the meeting with an ashtray this big in the middle of a conference table in an office. Not a single person quit because of that incentive plan. What got people to quit smoking? The cost of smoking. What was the cost of smoking? Lung cancer was the cost. Losing productivity. Billions of dollars to try and fix people with lung cancer, right? And so they started making the people who smoked pay for that, and the price of cigarettes went from 80 cents a pack to $8 a pack. And at $8 a pack, nobody smokes, right? They vape. People, they get with me on a Zoom, they're like, dude, this electronics will carry your voice. You do not need to speak from here to Minneapolis over this. You do not need to push. So that was the incentive plan. What are they talking about in this video? We've never heard this before, ever. Ever. I recorded this because I'd never heard of anybody suggest that somehow we as a people were going to have to pay for the damages of burning fossil fuels to heat and cool our homes and drive our cars. Who is going to pay for all this? You have all these mayors, and this story goes on for another 10 minutes about mayors banding together to sue Exxon, Mobil, all these oil companies because they're having to deal with the consequences of climate change, which is costing them billions of dollars. And who's going to pay? Somebody's going to pay. It's going to be us because it's going to come out in taxes, which is why we don't smoke, because they just taxed the cigarettes to actual death. And that, by the way, is the plan. We are going to stop digging garbage out of the ground and lighting it on fire because we will pay the cost for doing that, and then we'll decide, maybe not a great idea. So he's talking about the fact that we have 8.6% inflation, unprecedented, haven't seen anything like it in 40 years, and it's a fake number. The real number is about 18% if you use the consumer price index that we used in the 70s, which would put our inflation rate at 18%. They don't want to say that number out loud because it will light people's hair on fire. And somebody needs to light their hair on fire, and it's my job to light that lady's hair on fire. I asked that lady last summer if she wanted to go solar, and she wasn't interested in a quote. Now today she is. She didn't believe me when I told her the price of electricity was going to double in 15 years, and now I know it's going to triple before the end of the decade. That's the actual stated, it's not the consumer price index. In the state of Arizona, our local, instead of 8.6, in Arizona, the actual inflation rate is 10.9%. This will burn a consumer's finances to the ground in just a few couple short years. Like, this is a conflagration of everything that consumer cares about financially with regard to their family and financial security. For the last 5 years selling this solar, not a single person had given the price of energy one moment of thought while I was at their door, while I was at their kitchen table, and while I was closing. When you're at somebody's kitchen table now, knocking on their door now, they haven't been but maybe 15 minutes from thinking about the cost of energy. This is problem one, tier one, top of mind, and there's a guy at the door that has the solution. What's the answer to high inflation?
Higher interest rates.
Raising interest rates. It's the only thing we know to do. We gave out $10 trillion to make a pandemic feel like a vacation. We cut all the supply chain, so now there's 10 trillion more money and half as many goods and services. And what happens to the price of a truck? It goes up by a whole bunch, right? The cost of energy has gone up by a third in just the last few months. And it's not here. It's not here. It's here. It's here now, and before we used to be here with 2 or 3 or 4% inflation, showing people what was going to happen over time to energy rates, and we're now here, and the interest rates are 8, 10%. Guys, this is not like some, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go solar? Like, dude, let me tell you what this is really about. You're knocking on the door saying, I'm not interested in solar. You know what that's like? Anyone remember the old Dudley Do-Right, Dastardly, whatever cartoons, the Bullwinkle cartoons? And the lady was tied to the train tracks, and Dudley Do-Right had to come and rescue the damsel because the train was coming. We are knocking on the door. The homeowner is tied to railroad tracks, and we're standing there with a knife, and they're saying, I'm not interested in purchasing knives. Dude, are you paying attention? Have you watched the news in like the last 90 days? Do you know what's going on? I'm not trying to sell you a knife. If you look to your left, you will see a train coming. This knife is to set you free. It is not about the knife. It's about the train. This is not about the solar. This is about the conflagration of not having energy security. It's going to burn your shit to the ground. And the guy at the door has the solution. And you're not interested in solar panels? No shit, you're not interested in solar panels. I don't give a damn about solar panels. I give a damn about making $1 million a year as a critical service to people who are going to be devastated if I don't figure out a way to be better at what I do and get them to see the train instead of the knife. I'm not a knife salesman. I'm a rescue you from the train salesman. This is the 11th hour, 59th minute, and it's way more true now than I woke the hell up in 2016. Like, gas didn't go up in 2016. Nothing went up there was nothing wrong in 2016. There is nothing right now, and there's only one damn thing they can reach for and fix, and it happens to be one of their biggest problems, which is the lack of energy security, and we can not only fix, but bring down the cost of their energy to like a 2008 level and then fix it for 25 years. These people are steaming into a storm. They are on the ocean. It is rough seas. Is this rough seas? Guys, I've been around for a while. I don't really feel like I would have agreed with anybody if they would have said, you are in the midst of rough seas. Is there anyone in this room that disagrees that we are in the midst of rough seas? These are rough seas, and they are steaming into a storm. 8%, 10%, 18% inflation, that's not a storm. It's like, the what do they call it in the thing where it knocks out all the ships, the hurricanes, the type, whatever that thing. They are steaming right into a hurricane in the middle of it, and we're knocking on their door going, dude, would you please look to the right? There's a freight train coming this end, but on this side, if you look to your right, is a harbor. That's known as a safe harbor. Can I recommend that you just turn right? It costs nothing. Just turn right. Change the direction. I'm not saying stop spending $3,000 a year on energy for your home. Okay, spend $2,500, save a bit, but who cares? Who's counting the $500 savings? Turn to the right and go into this safe harbor and get your family tied off and let this storm go by. This is absolutely critical. If you don't find a way to get them to listen, they're going to think about this in 3 years and go, you know that guy that came to the door, like I wish he would have been halfway decent at his job. I think he understood this was coming. Why didn't he tell us that this was coming? This is the 11th hour, 59th minute. They need to take advantage of it. Now, guys, I can't even go through all of this. Like, you know, interest rates, Russia, America, Green New Deal. The Green New Deal all by itself, without any of this interest, without any of this stuff, was designed to tax fossil fuels to death. Get rid of them. That's the idea. We're going to pay for all the... Who heard of the infrastructure bill that we passed at the end of last year? We didn't pass the Build Back Better, damn it, because that had the 30% tax credits being extended for 10 years, and hopefully they get that thing to come back. But what did they pass? They passed the infrastructure bill. We're going to get brand new seaports, brand new airports, brand new broadband internet. We're going to get brand new highways and roads and construction. And we're going to get all this stuff. And it's paid. They told us it was paid for. Who the hell's paying for it? Do we have a rich uncle that I never knew about? Do you know what that means? Vote for the infrastructure bill. Don't worry, it's paid for. Don't worry, it's paid for. It means we're going to pay for it. Instead of adding it to the deficit, we're going to pay for it. But don't worry, it's not going to go on to the income tax bill. So don't worry about that. We're going to pay for it now, but don't worry, we're not paying for it with income taxes. So what does that mean? Where are we going to pay for it? Anyone here read the bill? We're going to tax the holy living hell out of this stuff. That's the bill. We're going to tax coal, tax natural gas, and tax oil, and that's a good thing. You know, the government is thrilled out of their mind that gas is $5+, almost $6 a gallon most places. Why? Because they get a lot more money, right? They're going to give us a 90-day holiday on the gas. They made so much money in the last 90 days, they don't know what to do with it. They get so much money out of gas tax, they don't know what to do with the boon of money that came into the treasury. And they're going, well, maybe we should give a little bit of it back. We'll give them a gas tax holiday for the next 90 days, right? This is the primary issue they're dealing with right now, and this is the 11th hour, 50. So I think we want to wait a while. We're going to do a little more research, see what our bills look like over the next year. Like, are you out of your mind? The power of a deadline, guys. So people act when they're afraid. Fear of missing out is part of fear. They also act out of fear when they really feel they're in the midst of an existential threat. Are we getting tired of hearing that word? I never heard that phrase before, existential threat. The last time we had an existential threat, we made a decision and we set a goal and a deadline, and the goal was to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. Put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. I wasn't alive yet. I'm the only one in the room who was close to being alive, probably. That was in 1961. I was born in 64. Why did we decide, when Kennedy said we were going to put a man on the decade, put a man on the moon, do you think normal people thought that would happen? Be like, dude, are you high? What are you smoking? We don't have an electronic calculator, and you think we could put a man on the moon. Like one iPhone, and you could maybe put a man on the moon. But they had 0 iPhones, 0 electronic calculators, and we didn't have really the first computer yet. We had a couple things that had zeros and ones that were, each 0 and 1 was a big gigantic tube. Each tube was a 0 or a 1, right? That was where we were in 1960, and we're going, yeah, let's put some stuff on the moon. Let's get a guy up there. Like, dude, that was not even remotely possible. We set that as a goal, created a deadline, put billions of dollars in it. Why did we spend those billions of dollars? Was it for this photo opportunity? Was it for this Instagram moment of putting a man on the moon? Why did we pay the billions and billions of dollars to get a guy on the moon? To beat Russia, which was an existential threat, and we did it by the end of the decade. This man put his foot on the ground in July the 30th of 1969. That's the value of a decade, and that's what we have the capability to decide to do when we perceive a real existential threat. If Russia would have got there first, they would have had intercontinental ballistic weapons that could have taken us out. That's the definition of an existential threat. Have we had one since? Has anybody been hiding underneath I hid underneath my desk in the late 1960s getting ready for the Russians to bomb the United States. Have we had an existential threat since then? What is it? No, what's the existential threat since not being worried about nuclear war, which probably closer to now than ever before? But anyway, what's the existential threat that we are worried about now? Those would be inconvenient, but not existential. Right? Russia blowing the entire continent off the globe, that would be existential. So the next existential threat is climate change, right? So that is the existential threat, and it's our job to get the solution out there. What's the solution? There are 65 million homes that have a suitable rooftop for solar. 65 million homes. In order to meet the obligations that we signed in the Paris Climate Accord, which we got back on the day after Biden got into office, we signed those obligations. We need to get half of those 65 million homes solar by the end of the decade. Does that sound familiar? We have a mission, we have a goal, we have an existential threat, and we have a deadline of the end of the decade. Half of the homes in this country solar by then. Does anybody think, would that be a good idea as a country? Should we come up with that as an idea? We already have. The United States has set as a goal to cut our emissions in half by the end of the decade, right? That's not 10 years from now, that's in 7 years. We're going to cut our emissions in half by 2030. How are we going to do that? We just heard the President of the United States talk about the product that we sell, and what is it? Solar. By the way, heat pumps is not an alternative for energy. We got that for a president as well. He's not always he doesn't always read all the cue cards, right? Heat pumps, the reason he's saying heat pumps is because all throughout the Northeast, they use more oil for heat than we use down here in the Southwest for electricity for cooling. But they're going to have to switch from coal to heat pumps. Why? So they can use electricity. Why? Because of climate change, and they're going to need solar panels. And there's more solar panels per family, whatever, going up in the state of New York than here in Nevada. So that really describes what we're doing, guys. We are selling energy security. That's the product. It's not the solar panels. It's not the knife. It's the freight train. There's an actual freight train coming. This will take you out. Your job is to be able to communicate that on the doorstep so that somebody thinks, not, there's been 7 solar guys buying here. Do you know why? Are you paying attention? By the time the 7th guy comes, should you scratch your head and go, what the holy hell is going on here? Did you ever hear about the guy who got told that there was a big flood coming? Big flood coming, need to evacuate. He's like, I'm a spiritual religious guy, I'm gonna pray. And I think I'm gonna be okay. The water starts rising and the sheriff comes in the Tahoe and dude, get in the truck, man, the water is rising. Now I'm religious, I prayed, I'm gonna be fine, God's got me, right? The water comes up, he gets up on the roof and there's a helicopter. No, there's a boat, and a boat comes by, he says, dude, get in the boat. The water's still rising. Now I'm religious, I prayed, I'm gonna be fine. Dude, and the boat goes away, he's on the chimney. He's hanging on to the chimney and a helicopter comes. Grab the rope. No, I've prayed, I'm gonna be fine. Just don't worry about me. All right, off the helicopter goes. Water rises, washes away, he's at the gate. St. Peter says, dude, what? He goes, and he's like, dude, I prayed. I'm like, I don't know what, how, I thought you would take care of me. He goes, dude, I sent you a sheriff. I sent you a boat. I sent you a goddamn helicopter. What are you doing here? This is the helicopter. That's what the 11th hour, 59th minute. The 11th hour, 59th minute is the guy in the helicopter. And you're like, I'm going to do some more research. Dude, that's not going to work. Are you paying attention? Are you watching the news? I can see the news on there. Are you listening to what they're saying? We are selling energy security, and this is something they need desperately. Guys, I've sold 12 million watts of solar, showing people this graph, and this graph says that the price of energy is going to double in the next 15 years. Well, Mike, I don't really believe you. Do you have anybody here been selling solar for, more than 5 years? No one? Come on. Wow. So 5 years ago, when I was showing people a solar presentation, I had the 25-year spreadsheet, and I would show them that energy doubled in 15 years. They would say, come on, man. This shit ain't moving. And I would come up with like examples. Well, do you remember when movies used to be $3.50 and they went to $5 and now they're 10? And they're like, yeah, but that's the movies. That's not my electric bill. Come on, man. Nobody believed that spreadsheet. Guys, the spreadsheet was wrong. I've been telling people the cost of electricity would double in 15 years. I was so wrong. I was epically wrong. It's going to double in the next couple of years. Gas has doubled in the last year. Energy, the cost of energy has doubled. And now that it's doubled, now we're dealing with 8-10% inflation. And it's not going in the other direction. It's going to triple by the end of the decade as per the plan. Read the bill. We already decided this. Catch up. We are going to tax this stuff to death. We didn't even need a pandemic and inflation and all this other crap. We were planning to tax it to death. Now the government's going to be a little bummed out because some of the money's going to have to go pay for the coal or whatever the heck the stuff was. But if you look at this in 1974, kilowatt hours were 2.5 cents. By the way, we're providers of kilowatt hours. That's units of energy, right? The system we sell produces kilowatts. In the 1970s, it was 2.5 cents. That was called the light bill. My parents called it the light bill. It was, $38 or so. No one worried about the electric bill, right? And then we hit the energy crisis here, and from 74 to 84, it tripled. Never let a good crisis go to waste. It went from 2.5 to 7.5 cents. And then over the course of this, it went from 7.5 cents to about 16, 18 cents. In my market, the on-peak power just went up 26%. It went from 24 cents to 30 cents like that. No one even knows it yet. I'm knocking on doors going, did you hear what happened? Did you get your bill? Go get your bill. Your on-peak power went up 26%. They didn't even tell you. Some kind of fuel adjustment. They didn't even have to have the meeting. The meeting about all the price of energy going up, that's this summer. You know where gas went from here to here all at once? Yeah, they can't do that with kilowatt hours until they have the meeting. The meeting is the Corporation Commission, the utility board, the whatever it is at each state. They have to have a meeting to change the price. We've not had that meeting yet. And people are thinking, well, this, gas is double, but whatever. This other coal thing's not. This is crazy. And this is where we've been. I've sold 12 million watts of solar just trying to get people to believe this. They didn't believe me, but just in case, I'll buy solar. Is there any way now they're not going to believe this? Now the question was how wrong was I? How wrong was I? This is the price doubling in 15 years. It goes from 16 cents, which was 15,000 kilowatts at 16 cents is $2,400 a year, which is $200 a month. Guys, do you know why it's hard to sell solar? Why is it easy to sell roofing and hard to sell solar? 100%. They don't need solar, and they need a roof. You can't survive without a roof that doesn't leak. You have to buy a roof. It's easy to sell roofing. 5 guys come, they give 5 quotes, they call one of them back. Solar, they don't call any of them first. 3 guys knock on their door, they look at 1 or 2 or 3 quotes, and they don't call any of them back. Why? Because they don't need solar. Because they're paying $200 a month, and they can afford that. It's manageable. It's not even scary. They don't know that this isn't the cost anymore. It's still the price, but it's not the cost. The cost has gone up 30% since Russia invaded Ukraine, let alone all this other stuff. They took Russian oil off the shelf and the cost of energy went up 30% in one day. From like $30 a barrel to like $100 a barrel. I was knocking on a guy's door. He goes, dude, I'm solar, ROI. Looked at it when I moved in. Dude, are you paying attention? Have you seen where the price of gas is? He goes, dude, I'm an oil trader. I said, then gas is or oil's at $100 a barrel. He goes, no, that was this morning. It's at $110 a barrel this afternoon. He goes, you're right. How soon can you get back here with the numbers? We weren't kidding. That man signed up for solar, 18 kilowatt solar system. He looked at it and goes, that's about right. Where do I sign? Guys, this was the normal inflation that we've been having for the last 60 years. Even if we weren't in weird times, it was wrong. Why? Because the grid is 100 years old. You remember that thing I showed you where there's a 15% limit on how many people can go solar? Do you want to know why? 5 minutes? 50 more minutes?
5.
I'm going to need 10. No, I'm only kidding. All right, so we got to get going. The reason was This number was wrong without anything happening because it was going to more than double. It was going to triple just by fixing the grid. Just by getting the grid so that it was capable of dealing with what we do, which is called distributed generation. It was going to more than double. It was going to triple. I sold a solar system to an APS executive. That's the big utility company. I thought I was being punked. I thought he was going to like show me on the Channel 3 news. This is what these solar guys are saying about. They're saying the cost is going to double over the next 15 years. That's not going to happen. I ended up becoming friends with the guy. We're out in the middle of the desert on a side-by-side ride. We got our families and stuff. I'm out in the desert with him by myself. I said, Bob, you bought solar. You weren't punking me. You're with APS. That seemed a little weird. But you didn't push back on my spreadsheet that said the cost was going to, this is a couple years ago, the cost was going to double in the next 15 years. Why is that? And he said, oh, I do think, do you agree with those numbers? He goes, no, your numbers are wrong. They're off. How do you know those numbers are wrong? How do you know those numbers are off? Because I know the amount of money that it's going to take, capital infrastructure, to keep the grid up to date, and it needs trillions of dollars of investment. That means the cost of power is not going to double, it's going to triple in the next 15 years. Can I get you on tape saying that? No way. But that's what I know, and that's my job, and that's the deal. So guys, here we are. We're at 16, 18 cents. It depends on what market you're in. The people that you're talking to are renting. They are renting what? Power equipment. They don't own a power plant. We're going to propose to change that. We're going to make a proposal that they own a power plant instead of rent one. How much is the rental on that power plant? 16, 18. The cost just went to 30 cents in my market for on-peak power, not the off-peak power. The average is about 18 cents. So here you are renting for 16 cents. Why is it 16 cents? Number one, it's highly taxed, and it'll double in the next 15 years with just the old Ronald Reagan type of inflation, let alone the kind we have now, which is the Jimmy Carter type of inflation. The cost of this goes from $200 a month to $400 a month. But wait a minute. This is the old graph. This is the new graph. If you take the regular plus the infrastructure plus the cost of the new Green New Deal, all bets are off. We're going to tax this stuff to death. This is a disaster. It's literally a disaster movie. And you got guys saying, I'm not interested in a knife set. Guys, it is not about the knife. It's about the freight train. The freight train is coming. What we're selling is energy security, stability, peace of mind, being prepared for a storm that is coming. We're going to move you into a safe harbor by getting you out of renting and into ownership. What happens when you own a home and inflation increases the market prices of houses and doubles it in the course of time? What happens to the cost of your monthly payment for the mortgage? It stays flat. What happens if you're a renter? It goes up dramatically. That's happening right now everywhere. Renters are seeing their rent do this. Owners of homes are seeing their mortgage payments do this. The difference between this and that is equity, is appreciation, is wealth. Most of the wealth in this country comes from people becoming home owners instead of home renters. They need to do the same thing with their power plant, and they will experience the same exact type of thing. Most of the homeowners that I sell solar to, I'm able to demonstrate that they're going to be $100,000 richer by the time this solar system has run through its financing cost. So guys, this is what we're selling. Understand how this works. It's in the academy. You can become very well versed on this. This is the entire solar presentation on one page. And you never have to show this page. You just need to be able to have that conversation, or you can show the page. All right, guys.
Mr. Meth. You know how we do.
Wait, I gotta give a buck away. Who knows what the watt is for? No matter what, what's the watt? That's what we're selling, guys. Raise your hand. Who wants this book? Raise it up high. Come on up. You right there. Come on up. That's for you. Bring it back there and I'll sign it. Guys, if you buy one of these books on Amazon. And guys, I need your help. I'm trying to get my bestseller numbers so I can kick Grant Cardone's ass. Like, I have a shot at doing that. I'm going to do that. Anyway, if you buy one of those and show me, Diane, the receipt back there, we're going to hand you another one and sign it for you. That one's free. That's just a gift from me to you. And when Caesar's got more time, we'll talk about more of that. Guys, this is what we're talking about. This was done in this building. This is the VT, Lightspeed, Real Solar, MOD Academy, and this is how we're going to get you fitted up to sell 1 million to 2 million watts of solar a year. And I can tell you what that pays, and I can tell you that that's exactly what you want. You have access to that. We also do the daily calls, and that's like $67 a month. It's every day at 8 o'clock. That's aside from what you have access to. And then once a week, there's training. We break down one of these things every single week, and that's going on every single day. Yeah, with me live.
I have one question.
Yes.
In Spanish for the Spanish speaking.
Would you like to help me do that? I'd love to partner with you to help me do that. Yes, the answer is yes. We're going to do that. I'm also going to get the book audio in English and in Spanish. So guys, do this for me. Follow me on social media. If you're not already there, follow me, Michael O'Donnell Sales. Check this out. If you're not in the Academy, Caesar and Legacy can get you in there now. You have access to that now, and I want to thank you. This is a long time. Tell Mikey Lucas I said thanks. I needed this much time. We had another speaker, and I got to use up his time because he got stuck in an airport. Caesar, thank you very much.
I appreciate it, man.
Let's go. Give it up for MIT and Caesar.
I don't know if you need that.